And you're the one that made the shirt.
I know, but I didn't even buy one. I need to go get one because it's cool as heck.
And we are live for another Biddle, another Saturday night. What's happening?
What's going on?
Well, that I3 shirt's what's happening, my friend.
Yeah.
Look, Matt has become a huge fan of I3. He had to get a shirt to show his love and appreciation for it.
Can't you tell?
Yeah.
Can't you tell that?
I mean, that shirt is awesome.
I think Ryan is missing the whole. I specifically bought this shirt just to troll you.
I'm totally missing that because that shirt's awesome. It's the best shirt I've ever seen. What do you think?
I don't know.
Rocco?
The Lennox is everywhere shirts were actually.
What were we talking about again?
Lennox is everywhere shirt.
Okay, so we might as well ask right up front. Matt, what are you running right now?
Yeah, Matt. I3.
Right now, I am running. I'm doing this particular show from the Surface Pro 2, running Ubuntu 16.04.
How can we prove that it's running?
Yeah, that's true.
Ubuntu.
It could be on Windows, and he just says that. But then again, he has an i3 shirt, so anybody who has an i3 shirt's cool enough to probably be rocking Linux.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is that proof enough? The fact that the Unity dash,
Man, who's that good-looking guy on your screen?
right there. I wouldn't know. It's right now. It's Colin.
Oh,
All right, Colin, what are you running right now?
okay. I am on my main system, which I normally am not. I've bought myself the microphone, the Blue Yeti, so now I can run the main, which is Ubuntu 18.04 nightly build.
Living on the edge.
You're living on the edge with
How are you liking that edge,
daily
man?
build, dude.
I'm living well. Actually, for the first time before it crashed on me, so it came back, but that was probably a bit of a snippet of what people have been talking about, whereas it's using so many things on the one core or whatever. So that was my first experience with that, and that was testing Zoom. So I'm hoping that I stay on here for the rest of the night.
Well, let's hope you don't have any issues with it. Ryan, what are you running?
I think you're kind of what do they call it? You're deflecting because of asking what other people are running, knowing that you've distro hopped, Rocco.
Ryan, I just asked a simple question. What are you running? I mean, is that hard to answer?
I'm running Linux Mint i3.
Linux.
Okay,
Mint.
so which Linux Mint did you install to install?
Sylvia,
i3?
man. Sylvia.
I mean,
18.
but like the cinnamon version, I guess.
No, XFCE, and then i3 on top of that, using Eric Dubois' whole instruction for i3 and Mint,
Nice.
which he did an amazing job. But I think it's completely different than Arch, and so all the key controls are different than the Arch i3, Arch Merge i3. So basically, I'm running Mint with the i3 Arch code because I basically took all the code from GitHub.
You'd be better off running Manjaro.
So what you're saying is you want him to update it.
Yeah, that would be awesome to just the standard whatever he's got done in Arch, because I think the Mint one's older, so I think that's when he started doing i3 stuff, so the configurations are different, Yeah,
Right.
Solus has i3,
as long as it's i3, right?
Solus
Speaking
has
of
i3.
which, that shirt, my gosh, every time I see it.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
So Rocco, what are you currently running?
Anyway, that shirt is so awesome, man.
Yeah, no, that's not the question.
Look, he's so desperate to deflect, he even says the shirt's awesome.
No, I am running. I have been running for the last week now, KDE Neon. So
Okay.
I didn't get rid of my Ubuntu Mate install. I just switched over to my other bigger drive. It was my drive before I got the NVMe, and it had XFCE's Ubuntu on it, and I used it as my backup just in case Ubuntu Mate failed, and it never did, so I never used it. So I figured I would install Neon on it and run it, and I've been running it, and I love it. Have a few minor issues with Neon, but I love it, dude. I miss KDE so much. Like I was telling Ryan earlier today, I went into Dolphin, and I still have like my documents were there even when I was running KDE. Like I had the same documents, folders and stuff. So it knows that I had specific icons on each folder. It just doesn't know the path of those icons. But I started redoing the icons and putting the paths back in right. And Dolphin is just amazing. I mean, it is absolutely amazing.
What about some of the bugs? Have you seen those start to go away? Are they still there, or are they getting better? Let me ask that.
Well, okay, so there's one bug with the suspend thing. Every time I come out of suspend, all the icons are got a square looking artifact type icon on them. If you hover over them, most of them will go away, but the menu icon doesn't go away. You got to log in, log out for that. So that's one annoying bug because that kind of defeats the purpose of suspend.
Is the hieroglyphics issue randomly going away, or is that still around?
In VLC, it does have like goofiness. Like when you go to fast forward in a video, it'll get all green on you, like the outlines of everybody. And I noticed with OBS here now, I don't have an issue raising the folder, or not the folder, the view size of something. Like you drag the edge to make it bigger. And yet in the preview for OBS, the preview window, it just will not work for some reason. Like it will, you go to raise it and you click on the edge and you go to move it and it'll raise like maybe a pixel, not even. So there's me like 10 minutes ago for 10 minutes moving it 1 pixel at a time to get it big enough for me to look at right now.
See, that was the thing for me. I was on KDE Neon for like 2 days and then I had enough. I just, the constant, and it wasn't anything major. Like Michael says, it never completely crashes, and it's beautiful, and there's so many cool things. But the constant like hieroglyphics and font issues and animation problems and little annoyances like that just add up to the point where I was like, I'm done. I mean, it could be amazing, probably could be the best thing on Linux, period. But it's just those constant little nagging bugs just annoy the tears out of me.
I agree, and there are a few of them, but
I know there's so many great things too.
There's so many great things about KDE that it's like you just weigh it, and you know what? After a couple weeks of running it, and you get settled in and everything, maybe the bugs will get to you, and I'll want to switch. Who knows? But right now, I'm loving being back on KDE.
Rocco, there is a face on here that I have not seen in a little while, man.
Somebody who knows well about KDE as well.
Scrap, don't you just sit there and eat food, man. You got to talk, man. Let me tell you something. Here's what happened. KX Studios got hacked, and it went down. KX Studios is where, we get a lot of the audio files for Jack and all that stuff when Scrap hooked me up. And ever since it went down, Scrap's been nowhere to be found. As soon as it comes back up, he's back up. So is Scrap a hacker?
Wow.
That's the question.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Hackjaw.
Well, I've never done anything with the studio version of KDE. I just haven't. I never had a need for it. I mean, I'm not that into, like, I don't have like extra sound mixers or anything like that. I just have, the only thing I have extra is a couple extra sound outputs, but other than that, I don't got anything that I need that for.
Like I haven't had to be on Jack recently, because the Behringer failed on me and I'm back on the Focusrite. But
what happened? I'm glad to find out what happened.
It completely died. The hardware just died. It just stopped working.
Did you RMA it? Get another one.
Yeah, I'm sending it back. But thankfully Rocco had talked. It's so funny because I was buying it and I was talking to Rocco and he goes, I said, I'm going to get on eBay, man. I'm going to save like $15. And he goes, dude, why don't you buy it on Amazon? I'm like, why? And he goes, because the return policy. And I'm like, And so I was like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. goodness I listened to you, Rocco, because that thing broke. Sure enough, and it got RMA'd. So anyways, I'm back on Focusrite for now. So, but what's annoying being back on Pulse is in several of the distros, I occasionally, after playing a game or something, get that kind of high-pitched ringing. Does anybody else have that?
No.
The sound just kind of rings real high-pitched. And it's not super annoying, but it's just enough where the sound's just slightly off. And I get it in a lot of it. It may be the DBX or the Focusrite I use, but in any case, I don't usually have that issue. In fact, I don't have it at all when I use Jack. So,
well, like I said, the only audio issue I have is having multiple outputs and having to go in and turn them off so that I don't have issues.
Yeah, I always turn off the internal hardware on the motherboard. If I have an outboard thing,
right,
it goes there.
Yep.
Pseudo Linux says the person that breached us was Ryan, unknown last name. Oh crap, Rocco, I gotta go. Bye.
Okay, see ya.
I think it goes by Das Geek. Or sorry, Das Google. My bad.
Das Google.
Hacks Geek.
Hacks Geek.
Yes, Chip, you heard me say I'm back on KDE. Yeah.
tuxdigital.com/hacksgeek.
As a matter of fact, there's quite a few people that aren't going to be here tonight.
What?
Like Michael's not going to be here.
Oh.
Barbara's not going to be here.
See, I was
Zeb's
trying
not
to
gonna be
coax
here.
him. I was Michael fishing with that last one.
Yeah, no, he's not going to be here.
Oh.
So Rocco distro hopped. Anybody who's
Because they
keeping
usually,
track,
if you
that's
say, like,
number 4.
I did not distro hop.
That's number 4 for the year.
The Ubuntu Mate is still on my system technically.
Yeah, but it's kind of been lonely for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rocco, what have you been using as your daily driver?
I will freely admit that for the last week I've been using KDE Neon, but I still have Ubuntu.
That's a
Mate.
hop.
That's not a hop. That's another drive, dude. That's like not a hop. I didn't replace.
Oh, so you're dual
Ubuntu
booting.
Mate. I'm dual booting.
You're dual booting.
So you're running KDE now, are you?
Whatever.
You're on
Yes.
KDE now. Yep. Okay.
You know, I'm actually considering doing that once I get into i3 a little bit, because I would like to have one install just for tracking, and then another install to do all of this kind of
Did you
stuff.
say i3 scrap?
I wanted to mess with i3 because I think it would be the
You mean the red
perfect.
shirt.
You need to get a shirt. Look at that shirt, by the way. It's beautiful.
That is dope. That is
Isn't
really
it?
dope.
i3 Prodigy? Yeah. I love it. Who made that shirt?
I think the guy down here in the corner somewhere.
No, Rocco didn't make it. Quit giving him credit for everything.
I'm not down there in the corner. I'm up in the top.
Okay.
It's a little slow to the draw there, huh?
I was busy. Hey, here's Shane.
Shane.
Hey, Shane.
Yo.
Hello, sir.
So,
Dude.
Wait. Ryan, Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
For,
man.
Linux, huh?
I think that's going to be pretty hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a great game. Yes.
Yeah, which means you've played it on either PS4,
Oh, man.
Xbox One, or
I thought
Windows.
Rise of the Tomb
You
Raider
never
was
mess
that
with
I-
an
Linux to
i3
begin
user,
with.
Rocco. You see,
You
they
know
catch
that I
you
don't.
like that.
I don't have a console, so Yeah.
I
So-
know.
Womp, 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 womp.
so everybody
Womp,
knows I
womp,
dual
womp,
boot that other operating system to
womp,
play
womp,
games.
womp, womp, womp.
And
But the
I was-
more that people like Farrell port these games over, maybe I won't have to.
There you go.
Yeah.
And who was the one that was getting flack about running a Windows operating system not that long ago?
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. We're glad you've come around and you've gone full back into Linux with i3. You're on phase 3. Welcome to the club. But you know, you were saying at one point, you're like, I'm gonna keep Windows on this Surface, and that's where we were like,
That's
we're
because they couldn't get
we're
the
losing
touchpad
one of
going.
us. One of us is sick, and we need to help him immediately. So we're glad you came to your senses.
When you can't get the trackpad to work on the machine, that's kind of a
Trackpad,
problem.
schmackpad.
There's one Surface that Windows is good on, and it's right there.
Oh yes, it's a good footstool.
Or that one. Or that one. You know,
It belongs in a museum.
if you
No, see, the only thing Windows is good for is to open and throw an error out it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Matt, did your Unity update? Because there was an update on OMG Ubuntu that the Unity's updated to 7.4.5.
I haven't even looked at my updates yet. I don't think it's in mine.
Okay.
I'm still in the process of setting up this machine. I literally installed Zoom about 10 o'clock.
So I
It's worse than
just
me.
wanted to point out that, you know, Shane's in here, and Shane doesn't talk a lot on here,
Nope.
but he does a live stream of his editing work. And if you
Incredible.
ever want to know about editing photos, taking photos, cameras, anything,
Within
the guy's-
Linux, by the way.
the guy's a genius.
Full professional photo development and editing in Linux. Awesome stuff, man.
It is.
Love your stuff, Shane.
I
Thanks.
was watching the live stream, man, and it was like blowing my mind. He's sitting there. He's like, "Oh yeah, you just do this, you do this, and you do this," and I'm like, "What?" And he's like going for like 10 minutes straight. "Oh yeah, you just adjust this lighting and adjust it." I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
So in other words, when he opens Darktable, you get really confused really quickly.
Well, who doesn't, frankly, unless you're a professional photographer like Shane? I mean, I look at the stuff
Exactly.
he's doing and he's, you know, adjusting curves up here and clicking this. And he's like, oh, it's so simple. And I'm like, let me pause the video again, go back 15 seconds, rewatch it, do it again. Yeah, because it's amazing stuff you're doing in there. It's pro level stuff. It's not like amateur, you know, photography.
Yeah, you would just need to make tutorials, Shane, that you know I could actually follow.
Yeah, can you make it for 5-year-olds like us?
Can you dumb it down a little bit?
I am
Well,
going to go through more detailed work on individual modules.
Yeah, you should definitely make some tutorials because I would love to learn some stuff. But man, that's just way over my head. So
What's he doing on Darktable? Is it Darktable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raw image processing and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shane, what do you use as your daily driver for camera?
I actually use Sony's mirrorless system.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at getting the new A7R III, but
Nice.
the camera's $3,200 though.
Yeah, that whole price.
Just think about all the
thing.
money you've saved with Linux. You just go buy it, man.
Yep.
So Shane, do you use i3 yet?
Nope.
I wouldn't
he uses
expect
that. he
As
uses
good
that
as you are
iPad
at
interface.
Darktable, you could definitely use i3, man.
He uses that iPad interface, GNOME.
Unless you get
Yep.
a Mensa card.
Let's talk about this topic of GNOME. Hey, Ryan, how was that experience?
Oh my gosh, put a bullet through my eye.
Oh god.
It was so bad. GNOME. I listen. If
What-
if
was
you
this- oh.
if you like iPads, it's wonderful. But
was
there
this
is
was this vanilla GNOME?
this was Ubuntu GNOME.
Yep.
Ubuntu GNOME.
Okay.
And
That's
you
what I'm
know,
running now.
here's the thing. Like for instance, this is some you go and move your taskbar to the bottom. It puts your menu icon all the way over to the right. That's one issue, but that's not even the biggest issue. That's stupid, but that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is if you go and you open your applications to open a new application, and you've got two monitors like I do here, so you can get the most productivity you can when you're doing things like web design. You got FileZilla, maybe a terminal open, some other things. If you open applications, it shrinks all your windows, even on your second monitor, into some preview mode thing. And then it just completely takes away any option of productivity at all. I do not understand how people utilize GNOME outside of just using it for like web browsing and stuff.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, how do you confuse an i3 user?
Give him a title bar.
Give him GNOME.
Exactly. We don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, you know, so is the iPad. When you look at the apps and it all scrolls through and they're big, gigantic 500 by 500 pixel icons.
I am telling you, I am going to challenge you to run GNOME for a week or two.
Oh, it's
Mm.
And,
somebody said he wasn't joining. Yes.
well, that's good he joined.
I'd rather crash my head through
I
my
had to join
monitor.
because there was some conversation about making fun of GNOME.
as she hands him a cookie from around. That was awesome. Did you stage that, Michael? Because that was genius, man.
There's no way.
He just came in here like royalty, getting grapes fed to him, but it was a cookie.
Nothing like a live show, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I love it.
What an entrance.
She is a keeper, dude. That was pretty awesome, man.
So Gampa asked what people do when they install Neon, like what I did when I installed Neon.
You enjoy the rest of your life in glorious
Pretty much. But I do move
No,
the
you
panel
don't.
to the top. I do install Latte Dock and use that on the left, and I replace the top. I replaced the main panel with Latte Dock. As a matter of fact, I recorded a video showing what I did. I just haven't released it. So
Shock, surprise.
So you
There
actually
was
use
a
a panel
pixel
still?
off.
I make this setup look exactly like no.
Do you use the regular panel?
No.
So you replace
No.
the top panel completely with Latte Dock?
Yep.
Me too.
I want to shut down all possible productivity of this KDE Neon. How do I do that? I'll make it look like GNOME.
I mean, that's unfair, sir.
I was way too productive with these two monitors.
No. See, the GNOME workflow's okay, but only if Plasma is powering it.
There you go.
Then it makes it usable.
Mm-hmm.
So
you got all these-
anything
you got all
GTK
the-
related to it is makes it
No.
all
You got the GTK
No.
stuff too as well. You got everything. You got the Plasma just provides the best basis for everything.
Well, here's the thing.
It is quite glorious.
If you run the default theme, like if you run the Breeze theme, maybe even the Arc theme as well, all your GTK apps are going to be, they're going to look perfect. They're going to look just like a QDAP.
Pretty awesome.
If you switch to another theme, not so much. So
What?
if you switch to a
What?
theme
Are
that's
you
not,
That's not Breeze.
that's not Breeze.
That is just completely true.
It's-
If you
Well-
modify the colors on Breeze, it also is weird because the GTK stuff doesn't modify because it's a completely different theme because of way GTK works.
Yep.
If you like the default, whether it's dark or bright, you'll love it. If you
Mhm.
change it. So anyway, what are we talking
There
about?
goes the smiles.
We were talking about GNOME and how unproductive it is.
Oh,
Well,
right, exactly. exactly.
Ryan had an experience with GNOME, so I asked him how his
Yeah.
experience with GNOME was.
Listen,
Well,
if that
if you-
GNOME behind Rocco was in my house, I'd be smashing it to pieces. That's how I feel about GNOME.
You can put the
That's
stock,
the wrong kind of GNOME.
You can put the stock panel, the application menu. You can put to the left if you put your panel on the bottom. If you use decomp editor, you can put it on the left.
Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of edits and you can add extensions. But I'm just saying default.
No,
It's just
no
kinda
extension.
junky.
Though. You don't
Oh.
need an extension though.
Oh wow,
do that.
you just do the deconf edit. I think I actually have a video on that. When I first
Yeah.
did GNOME, I did the deconf edit to move it to the left. It's just stupid that it's still there after beta. Like who puts nobody defaults their menu there. That would be an
No,
add-on like you would change to say, hey, move the menu over to the right. But by
I agree.
default, it should always be on the left. That's where everybody's menu's
Yeah,
always been.
It's
It's
I
just
agree
GNOME
with that.
telling you exactly what's good for you. You will have it on the right because it's too difficult to program it over on the left.
It's not too difficult. It's just unmaintained, and
So
we're going to phase it out.
In other words, the typical GNOME developers' excuse of
Well, I mean,
it's
you know,
unmaintained code.
Well, it's very hard. Look, it's very hard to maintain code sometimes. So we'll probably just get rid of some of it.
they've got a ton of resources, and it really shouldn't be as hard. I kind of feel like they don't. In some of those cases, it just felt like they don't care. Like it goes over to the right. It's been that way since beta, by the way, and whatever. We'll just leave it that way because we don't care.
I was gonna say I've come to the conclusion that GNOME thinks features are bugs.
They're like the Apple of
Like I'm not talking extensions or anything like that. I'm talking default GNOME. Like, we take away desktop icons out of Nautilus because it's unmaintained code. We take away, the
don't
system.
use extensions. We hide that feature.
we take out the install from zip for extension. It's like, okay, you guys are making it harder to install the things you guys are pointing us to for those that want them. So like none of their decisions make sense from like a user point of view. And you can only use the unmaintained code so much before it becomes a kind of a crutch excuse.
Rocco's like, I am going to boot all of you off of my channel.
Kick you all. No, actually, I actually wasn't paying attention. I was like tweeting out that we were live. So there you go.
I've been messing around with Plasma, and I was trying to get it to run a little bit similar to the workflow that I have in GNOME, and pretty much I think I've got it there. So I'm thinking about putting KDE and Neon on my main system anyway, see how it goes.
Well, for a small fee, I'll sell you the LTS that you can't download.
That's genius, Rocco. You're going to be rich, dude.
I saved it for that purpose.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's funny because on Telegram, I asked, does anybody know the difference between the LTS and the user edition? And then Lashikan answered answered it for me. And then straight after that, I'm not sure. And straight after that, they announced that they're not using it anymore, the long-term support. So maybe it makes not much difference anyway at the end of the day.
Well, okay, so the idea of the LTS was so that you could have a stable Plasma version and yet still get the updated KDE apps. But I guess they don't. I guess they feel you should just run Kubuntu or something if you want to do that. I don't know.
So
I mean, they gave their reasons, but not that I understand them. But
you'll do what we want you to do then? Is that like a no?
Look, Michael comes back as soon as we start discussing.
Yeah.
Where's the cookie, Michael? Where's the cookie?
Plasma.
Is that a GNOME decision? You will just run the user.
No, that's ridiculous. You can still use it. They just don't want you to download it. It's different.
Right.
You just got to find it.
So
it's kind of like a little game.
Yeah,
it's a gradual deprecation. They're like, hey, we're going to end this eventually, but not like the GNOME way of just it's like this is a gradual ending. But more importantly, I don't see the point of using Neon anyway if you're going to use the Plasma. You're going to use the LTS period
to get the updated KDE apps.
Yeah,
to get the latest version of Kden
use the
Live.
PPA or use the app images because Kden Live makes an app image. Like, it's no problem. No problem.
So what you're saying is I can't just have it the way I want it.
It's not Burger King. It's KDE.
No. You can have it your way as long as your way is the Neon way.
Right.
I keep waiting for a hand to come through Michael's screen to feed him another cookie. I can't stand it.
Well, at least the Neon way is better than the GNOME way. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's also because they weren't really the LTS version of Plasma was like a afterthought. It was like, maybe we should do this too, and then like, maybe not, because it was originally meant to just be the regular user edition, and then they kind of realized that they focused mostly on the regular user edition. Then why imply to people that this version is getting all the attention it needs when it's probably not? So it's just like the safer bet of saying, hey, let's focus on the main one and tell people use that one. And if they want to use Neon, and in my opinion, is that if they wanted to use, LTS of both, they might as well just use Kubuntu. Unless they want to use the 512 LTS, then you should use the 1710 backports PPA. That's hard.
Yeah, but a lot of the reason why I wanted to use Neon and not use Kubuntu was because of all of the extra stuff that Kubuntu puts into it.
Yeah.
If I go with Neon, I get a bare bones system, almost like not similar to an Arch system, where it's just the basics, and I can install whatever I want on it. Then, where with Kubuntu, I get all kinds of extra stuff that I'm going to uninstall anyway.
I agree with that. I use Neon specifically because it was like it had the rolling top, and then also was very minimal. So I guess
you don't have that K-wallet thing popping up in your face and saying, hey, put in a password.
Okay, wallet.
So you do. K-wallet is everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
but
in
I haven't
Neon,
had
but it doesn't bother you in Neon.
No, I haven't had a pop up since I have installed it.
You can make it not bother you in Kubuntu as well. When I installed Neon, it bothered me because KWallet is awful. I mean, good job, Kitty. It's a great tool that people who like it will use it.
That's right. Exactly.
Nobody uses KWallet.
I know 4 people who use it.
I've never met a live person. I think you're talking to bots.
4
Is that a
people.
password
No.
manager?
I even said, "Is this a human being?" And they were like, "Yeah."
Yes.
Is this a password Is it a password manager? Is it?
It's multiple things. It's a password manager. It stores your regular passwords. It stores your SSH keys, your Wi-Fi passwords for the networks you connect to.
Compass, a pocket knife.
Yeah, sure.
Pocket knife.
It's a Swiss Army wallet.
It's the Swiss Army knife of KDE.
So Gampa Gamer asks, has anybody been able to fix the screen tearing issue in Neon? And I did have the screen tearing, but Michael or Rocco's going to have to help me out there.
Rocco?
There is an issue.
The allow flipping.
Allow flipping on NVIDIA?
Uncheck it.
Yeah.
Works every time.
What is this?
If you have an NVIDIA driver and you install the NVIDIA driver settings, if you don't get it installed, and uncheck the allow flipping in the OpenGL performance, and it'll stop all the tearing.
I'll have to look in there. Like where's the tearing happening? Just on
some
videos and
mostly
when you
videos.
drag.
It's interesting because I found a different fix, but I fixed it by going and changing to Compton plus something else.
Compiz?
Instead of what was default there.
Flipping.
And that fixed the tearing for me. Yeah.
Compton is a part of Marco in Mate.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the Compton option, but it was in that selection where it's like Compton plus. It was I just chose a different one and then it went away.
He'd be using Compton because he's on a minimal desktop, right? You're based on XFCE, right, Ryan?
Well, no, I'm talking about when I was on KDE Neon.
Oh, when you was on KDE. Oh,
I'll have to go back and look.
You don't need Compton on KDE.
You could be referring to like the OpenGL setting stuff, like that might be somewhere because there's a lot of combinations in that you can change through.
That might be it, yeah.
But do you have to log out, log back in for it to change?
As soon as I changed that setting, whichever, I wish I would have wrote it down in my simple note for once I didn't. It took away all my tearing. I had no more tearing.
There's OpenGL 3.1, 2.0, and XRender. Was any of those?
No. It was definitely like a window manager or, like not a window manager, a Compton or a Compass or something like that combination.
Those are all powered by KWin. So it would be very shocking to me that KWin is not used because that would Compton is like a compositor. I think KWin has its own compositor. I just changed the colors and that's creepy.
If you go into the NVIDIA server settings and like I said, just click on the OpenGL settings. On the right hand side, you'll have sync to VBlank and allow flipping. Both of them are checked by default, but you uncheck the allow flipping and all the tearing stops. What?
I did the whole color thing again. It just freaked me out. I'm sorry. Redshift is on, and when I changed with this thing in system settings, it turned it off, and then it turned it back on like 3 times, and it was freaking me out. But I have absolutely no idea how to fix screen tearing because I have accepted it for years, and it just is what it is. I enjoy my tearing all the time.
I can't stand screen tearing.
Especially during Rocky League, right, Michael?
It doesn't do it during games. It only does it during videos that I've seen.
Videos are scrolling through text with white backgrounds. That's where you really pick it up.
It's weird. When people talk about it, I go, "Oh, right, tearing. Okay, cool. I see it." Moving on.
Yeah.
It's just it's not that I've accepted bad things. It's just that I've seen it for so long that I just gave up caring.
You've accepted bad things.
I've accepted bad things.
Well, it's funny. It's solely an NVIDIA general issue. I'm not saying it doesn't happen on AMD, but any of my Radeon cards, I never have the problem.
I used when I first
use NVIDIA, I have it.
AMD. Maybe I didn't notice it then. Because I don't know. So yeah, AMD is always better than Intel is what he's saying, and also better than NVIDIA. And, and he's also saying we should all switch to Wayland immediately. And
that'd be a sad day. Be a sad day.
Well, I would be able to do a comparison, and if the Bitcoiners would stop and I could actually get my hands on an AMD Frontier Edition Vega, would be great. Which I've been trying to buy for 4 months now, but they won't come down to a reasonable price.
I was going to say, Ryan, at this point, is pretty much any graphics card.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get anything, but that's the one I want is the Frontier Edition Vega, and of course, nobody can get them unless you want to pay $1,200 for it.
Get 1050 and 1050 ties for cheap.
Yeah,
I don't think they're not using those.
They've got to create a separate card just for like gamers that doesn't mine well. I don't know how to do that, but that's what they have to do to stop it. You know?
I think CPUs now are getting so powerful that maybe they might get rid of graphics cards eventually. Possibly.
I don't think they would get rid of it, but certainly the Ryzen integrated GPUs have shown some incredible in their new, 2370 or whatever their new models are, have shown some incredible results, which basically is the GPU architecture within your CPU. So, I could see more of that being potential, but I think
well, I was going to say, because basically the new Ryzen things for was it the Vega chips on Intel or whatever, that it's basically just AMD's APU concept just thrown on Intel more or less. But AMD's
actually no, the Coffee Lake one you're talking about, it's two separate processors on one die package.
Yeah.
The one that AMD does, that's the APU, is a single die.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really, and so it relies on the actual system memory. The other one has HBM on it.
Oh.
For the graphics.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So there.
Oh, there you go.
So check out Destination Linux, episode 58 coming Monday for some big news. Just saying.
I've seen that.
Just throwing it out there.
What's going on? You'd like to know. Watch
My
it
lips
Monday.
are sealed. We are unable to communicate in that area.
Of course, you could find out if you're a patron tomorrow, but if you're not, then you have to wait till Monday.
I don't know if the guy editing will have it done early enough tomorrow.
Oh, well, never mind.
No, what I've been trying to do was I'm actually trying to transition from doing a lot of the transitions in OBS to doing it in Kdenlive afterwards. So, and what I did what I made the mistake this week was I recorded everything, and I recorded it with all the name tags on it, with the Destination Linux logo on it, and now when I try to resize it in Kdenlive, then it has like a black border up at the top, a pretty fat one, and one at the bottom, and I can't put the logo and fill that stuff in with something because it's already there above us, and it would look stupid being there twice and everything. So this week is probably going to go without any screenshots, because what I also tried was I tried to take the video and crop it, to crop all of that stuff out except for the pictures of the video. And it said it was going to take 5 hours and 50 minutes to render that one.
Oh my gosh.
So I said, no, I think this is we're just going to go without the screenshots this week, and I'll work on doing it next week the right way. So
Rocco, we have another bone to pick with you.
Why, dude? Why?
I want to tell everybody about this because a lot of you guys have an impression of Rocco.
Of course you do.
A lot of you guys have a certain impression of Rocco, and it's nice, but we got to be truthful. We're all about truth here.
Yeah, let's be truthful.
So me and Dustin are playing CS:GO, and Rocco says, "I want to join." And he goes, "Hey guys, I'm not very good, okay?" And we're like, "No problem. We're still learning too, Rocco. Come on and join us." So then he starts in, he's like, "Hey, how do you buy stuff? How do you pull up your weapon menu? How do you do this? How do you do that?" So we're telling him all these things, and we're like, wow, he's really new to this. And then he gets his weapons, and we see him run in front of us all and take out like 5 dudes. And then he continues to hit MVP status and is winning all these rounds. And we're like, You sharked us, Rocco. You totally lied and acted like you didn't. And you know what's even funnier is on his name tag, it says 5-year veteran. It says that on his CSGO name tag.
Oh no.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Rocco, you have some comments on this?
That's amazing.
I may or may not
love it.
have
I love
played FPS shooters for a few years. I am not that good, and like I said, I'm not that good, and I haven't played CS. Well, I haven't played CS in a long time, but CS:GO.
So what are you saying about us then? If you
I
were
don't
completely
play that
dominating us on the scoreboard,
I think he's telling you you're terrible.
I'm saying that maybe you haven't played a lot of FPS shooters.
how dare you, man? I grew up on that stuff.
I'm sure if it was
I was
an RPG
born in
game,
FPS shooters. You merely adopted it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Maybe you should come and play.
Of course, our
Call
CS:GO
of Duty.
scores show else.
Yeah, maybe
I
you should
thought-
come play
I
Call
thought-
of Duty with me.
I thought it was Battlefield 1 there, Rocco.
Anyways, my point is, if Rocco tells you he doesn't know how to play a game and he's new to it, just look out.
Unless it's Rocket League.
Unless it's Rocket League, then you know my skill level. Scary.
Well, as good as Ryan's.
Hey,
You're a team player. It's all matters.
Exactly.
yeah,
Where
he
did
was-
Michael
Solid
go?
teammate.
I mean, I was happy he was on our team. I just was a little shocked.
Tangy says if anyone wants to play Modern Warfare 2, he can jam on that. So I love Call of Duty, so I might have to take him up on that, and we'll play some Modern Warfare 2. Although I haven't played much of the Modern
Where
Warfare
would you play
2.
that? And is that playing wine?
Well, we'll have to work that out later. How we're going to get
Can
there.
you do a video on your configuration for how you get wine to work with all these games, Rocco?
Yeah,
Do you have a lot
I'll
of
get
play
there.
on Linux
Ryan.
scripts that you're not telling us?
It's all in a VM.
Did I tell you I was a genius in wine and play on Linux?
Clearly.
Apparently,
You know what, you
Instead
should try i3.
you're more than an i3 prodigy.
It's a VM with VGA pass through. He's figured that one out too.
Oh, look, Tanji says he has Modern Warfare 2 working in wine. So, Rocco, I guess you're off the hook, man.
Notice he has working in quotes.
That's suspicious.
Yeah, but I thought Modern Warfare 2 was one of the games that Lutris has a script for. Pretty sure.
They probably do.
So
Yeah, the problem I find with and you always see, because I've got a couple of videos on how to install World of Warcraft, but they're probably getting a bit old now. But Blizzard keeps moving the goalposts, don't they? They keep changing things, and it keeps breaking things.
Can't wear it like this.
This is the big problem with Wine and Play on Linux. It's Blizzard themselves.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you
Pain
can
in the
play them for a
backside.
while and then they're gone. So,
Yeah,
to me,
that's
I
right.
just-
It's a problem always. I don't know if they do it on purpose or just their changes just break it. Why do they change things so much? I don't know. Crazy.
it's amazing World of Warcraft's still around.
Wit, do you have a mic? Wit just joined.
Can't hear him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have video on because that's off, but
Is
hopefully he has a mic.
He's as quiet as Shane.
So I'm surprised nobody's brought up the Ubuntu data collection yet. Anybody got some thoughts on that?
Okay,
gonna
and
happen.
in comes Michael with a cookie in 3, 2, 1.
Where's Michael? Where did Michael go? Where did he
Okay,
go?
so I'll give you Michael's take on it. He loves it.
Michael loves data collection.
Yeah.
But it's
I
all
think
public.
I was going to say it's all public, and I think it's a typical overblown by the community. This is not the same as the whole Amazon scope that they put into Unity and all this other crap. It's public. It's supposedly encrypted. You know, take that for what you want. It's hardware now, and it's is it opt-in or out? Yes. It's not some contrived way of uninstalling it like you had to with like the Amazon shopping plans, where it was like, run this command from the terminal.
And KDE Neon's doing collection because they have a machine hardware ID. That's all it does, just so they can track how many installs
You mean
that are
I'm being
unique.
tracked right now?
Yes.
With
Well, you are, Rocco.
one
You're
big
on Google.
hash thing, they just it hashes out some big number or characters and stuff, and it sends it back to them.
Well,
And that's all they get.
Look, there's all kinds of different opinions. Yes, no, no big deal. But we're forgetting that there are some people out there who don't want to send any info,
It's
regardless of how benign the info is. They don't want any info, regardless of whether it's a country, whether it's a hardware, whether. So
But there are distros for that though, like Tails and Wanix and other things that you could do instead of using Ubuntu.
If you're
yeah,
that
but
concerned.
you should be able to use Ubuntu without having to worry about that stuff. Now, I personally don't care. Okay, it's no big deal to me. I'm just telling you that there are people out there that do care, and I still think they should have left it as a opt-in rather than an opt-out.
I think that's the biggest issue. That right there, you hit the nail on the head. It's an opt. It's
It's opt out.
They probably
it's opt out instead of opt in. Yeah.
So, Canonical goes to NVIDIA and stuff and says, hey, we want you to write some better drivers here or fix the Wayland issue or what. It doesn't even have to be Canonical, be anybody. And they're trying to negotiate, and NVIDIA is going, well, how many people are running Linux and have an NVIDIA card? We don't know, but we know there's like 7 million downloads a month. Do you think that's really going to inspire NVIDIA? Whereas collecting hardware information now like this and making it public is not just beneficial for Ubuntu. It's beneficial for every distro as they're working with manufacturers to go back and say, look, we have 7 million people who use NVIDIA video cards. We need a better driver.
It's hard numbers.
Okay, but wait now. I agree that it would give you it gives everybody better info, and it's betters everything. Okay, but isn't that the same reason that Google collects information? To make everything better.
No, Google collects information to sell it.
To make ads. But they're making their services better. They're there. Everybody. That's the whole catch. That everybody's collecting this data so we can serve you better.
If all Google ever wanted was my hardware information, there wouldn't be an issue. Google is taking personalized information of my search indexing, what I like to do, what sites I go to after I visit one other site. They're taking all of that stuff and they're selling it.
I'm not
Ubuntu's taking it to better the community and say, here's your hardware. That's it.
I'm not arguing what they collect or how much they collect. I'm arguing that they do collect it. And that's where the fundamental issue is. You can sit there and say it'll better the community, and it probably will. But what happens next week when nobody makes us think about this and they say, okay, by the way, we're going to add to that. We're collecting this now. Do they have to put a user agreement out there to people that updates what they collect now, or can they just slide it in?
But nobody's whined about Steam doing it. I mean, Steam's done it forever.
But that's not a argument for.
And Steam hasn't become a slippery slope. They grab your hardware information, they use it to negotiate with developers and manufacturers. And yes, it's true that Ubuntu could go AWOL and say, well, now we're going to start collecting more information on you. And then that's the point we should freak out. But asking for your hardware to me is so beneficial to them being able to negotiate with getting things that we need working on Linux working, like NVIDIA drivers properly on Wayland.
So what you're saying is by the end of the year, we'll have better NVIDIA drivers.
You could.
Yeah.
So I'll expect that. That's a prediction we're going to write down. Ryan says we're going to have better
Ubuntu. You better back me up, Canonical. You better have my back here.
We might even find out with all that hardware information where all of the miners are and where our cards are.
Yeah. Well, like I said, regardless of what you collect or how you collect it or how you present it or what it helps, it's people's personal data. And it should be up to them whether they want to share it, and it should be an opt-in rather than an opt-out.
You're right.
That's my take.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. Unfortunately, we live in the reality of if you hook up to the internet, you've already sold something.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think you have sold something, but what I'm saying is when you download a Linux distro and you install it, this is not the normal operation to start giving away data. Yes,
it's not.
you expect it
It's-
from Google, you expect it from going on the internet, but you don't want everything collecting data.
But this is just computer information, though, isn't it? It's not.
Correct.
It's not.
It's hard.
I mean, they're not going to sell that. It's just computer info. And Rose actually says that Chrome and Firefox has data on who are Linux users. Is that right?
Well, they may have data on who's a Linux user, but that doesn't tell NVIDIA of those Linux users who's running an NVIDIA card. The fact is, and I've worked hard to try to break this just on my little channel itself, but everybody thinks of Linux. You think of, oh, you install that on old hardware. That's what everybody told me up to this point. What we're proving, what a lot of us are proving, is that Linux runs fantastic on the latest and greatest hardware. So I don't think anybody has any data to say how many users are using 1060s, 1080s, 1070s, 580s, 560s, Vegas in their Linux machines. Nobody's grabbing that kind of data. And Ubuntu's making it public. So every single distro, every person who develops a distro can go on there and now learn, well, gee, 70% of my users are going to have an NVIDIA card. I should probably spend some time doing testing there. So, but I agree with Rocco. It's a slippery slope. If they cross the line too much, this goes down territory where we're back in Windows 10 and you might as well just boot into Windows. So you've got to keep control over it. You've got to be careful. But I don't think this is the time to go screaming over the hills and be mad, because I think there's way too much benefit from just getting my hardware. In fact, I would give it to them if they just asked anywhere they want it, because I think I know from a company standpoint how much benefit it would be for them in negotiations to have that kind of data.
And I would give it to them too. I surely would give it to them, because it isn't no personal data, and I don't really care about the information that they want this right now. But there are some people who do, and I think it should be an opt out or opt in.
An opt in, yeah.
I
agree with what Ryan says too. Ryan brings up some very, very good points there, and I agree with that too. But like you say, not everyone wants to do it, and to opt in would be the better option, because then if you're choosing for people to opt out, that means that, like you say, they could extend it to something else. So, but I don't think, in my honest opinion, I don't think anything would be bad enough to make me go back to Windows 10 updates. There's nothing could be that worse.
Well, Michael brought up a point before when we were talking about it, how it needs to be an opt-in, because if you have it as an opt-out, then you won't know who's running it, because people will just click through it, and you really won't know if they opted out or opted in. But like I said, regardless, I don't think that I get the idea. It's great data to have, and it will help a lot of people out. But
Rose says in the chat, you can ask Richard Stallman and Lance Torvalds what they think about this. Two very dynamic, different approaches there. Linus will say, it's open, I don't care, more than likely. And Richard Stallman, for God bless him for all the work that he does, but he will go on the Ubuntu spyware and that more than likely.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of think it's a good idea. I would definitely, if it was an opt-in, I would opt in for sure. No problem at all.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, well,
there are other distros. I mean, if people don't like it, that they can go to. Obviously, there are other distros out there today that also ask you, as mentioned in the chat, Linux Lite asks you if you want to share your hardware data.
That's
other
correct.
people are trying to get to that. Yeah. So, I mean, Linux Lite obviously is a much smaller, fan base than Ubuntu, but
wasn't
they at least
Ryan,
asked for it.
Wasn't the part of that article that they were going to add a couple other things to it as well? Like
they were looking at
apps
AppPop or something, and some other tool. One looks at the applications that are installed most often, and I forget what the other one did. It was something benign as well.
The app port is the one that when like Ubuntu has encountered an error.
Yeah, that's the one I usually uninstall.
Yeah, that's popping up all over the place on my system at the moment. I just couldn't be bothered uninstalling it.
Now that was more of like somebody stating that that was something they were looking into. It wasn't confirmed like what we're talking about with the hardware was.
Nah.
Yeah, honestly, I think if they start doing like the application tracking and all the other, then there's cause for like legit concern there, because then you're starting to really get into, okay, how much more crap are you going to track?
Right.
Like, I think that's a legitimate concern. So I think those proposals of like app port and that stuff, being defaulted, because app port is essentially the Windows version of like send canonical and crash report.
I tell you what, Dark One, ever since you've been wearing that i3 shirt, I've agreed with you more than I ever have before. There's just something about that.
It's good on you right now.
Yeah, but Clifford brings up a good point. Mike had said about, you wouldn't get the data if you had it as a opt-in. And he said, why not make a separate question on the install like you have for the keyboard layout and whatnot? And not have anything checked as default. You could just have it be blank, and then you check one or the other. That way you would know it should be just an extra question. And then you would basically force people to either opt in or opt out, and then you would have the numbers you need, and it wouldn't be checked. But out there.
I kind of wish they would have started with something a little less, the forced opt-in checkbox. Now, it will be very interesting to see how it's implemented. Is it some hidden checkbox that's at the bottom of some terms and agreements that you have to uncheck? Or is it some big separate screen as you're installing that will be there? I don't know. When we see it, that will be interesting, because if it's a big separate screen that I can uncheck that clearly tells me, do you want to uncheck this, even though it's already selected, then really there's nothing to complain about. But if it's not, and it's something hidden, then it looks a little more suspicious to me.
Well, shouldn't the most widely used distro have the lowest common denominator represented there? Like the security-minded people, that maybe they're doing something, but they need to just grab that ISO. This in Ubuntu works on everything. Should they be able to put it in and not worry about it, talking to something else when they install it and compromise something they're trying to do and stay under the radar from, that kind of thing. Just grab it and go. Ubuntu should be that for anybody, because that's what they're trying to be, right?
Yeah.
There he is.
DistroTube in the house.
Yeah.
Hey, Derek.
Hold
Can't
on.
hear you.
Sound.
Let me see if you are muted or something here.
You must be unknown.
No, you must have the wrong. You must have the wrong sound option checked, Derek, because I don't see a mic.
We'll be right back.
I would hate to say that it was a KDE problem, but OBS did crash, so there you go.
Time to go to i3.
I don't think so.
He's gonna go back to GNOME.
So it can't be.
Mate, probably.
So when it comes to data collection, I don't think it'd be worse than Google. I was just saying this morning on one of the live feeds that
I saw this.
I dropped my son off at McDonald's last night for work, and I got home and I looked at my phone and Google saying, "Rate your experience at McDonald's." all I did was
that's
drop
why I
my
leave
son
my location off. I went to Maine with my wife for our honeymoon. We planned it after down the road, and we were at this one place that had really good breakfast stuff. It was a gas station, general store, all these things in Maine. I took pictures of the food and the things, and it was like Google was like, "Hey, do you want to add pictures to this thing?" And I was like, "All right, cool. We've had a good weekend." Did the thing. I'm not kidding you. This place has had those two pictures have gotten so many views. It's in Portland, Maine.
Where?
Not Portland. It's not. Is it? No, it's Acadia. It's on Acadia National Park. We went through Portland. It's in Acadia. There's a
Yeah.
a little general store there, and there's a picture of a muffin and a coffee, and it's mine, and it's like viral. I had to shut off Google Maps from telling me about it. At one time, they're like, "Do you want to be a part of this special club of people that takes pictures of places everywhere they go and their food?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to be that guy."
It has got worse lately, I must say, hasn't it? It's really got worse.
Derek, what's going on, man?
Hey, can y'all get?
There we go.
Oh yeah, we can hear you now, brother.
Yeah, you mentioned it was a Pulse Audio problem. I actually did have a problem with Pulse Audio today on my Manjaro update. It killed my sound.
Shock and surprise. On Linux.
Yeah, well. So is that what you're running right now? Manjaro KDE?
I've been running Manjaro. I installed the KDE edition. I've run it for about 2 months. I actually got tired of KDE about 2 weeks ago and uninstalled KDE and all its dependencies. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I installed OpenBox on this. So.
Well, that can happen. I mean, I'm just getting back to KDE. I used to love KDE, and I'm just getting back to it now. And you know, when you go back to it, you realize all the things you didn't have and all of the good features about it. But slowly but surely, the little bugs pop up here and there, and yeah, I'm waiting for it to irritate me enough to get off of it.
Yeah, I was having
off.
I was having screen tearing issues and everything, and it was just getting frustrating. So.
Yeah, well, we actually just talked about the screen tearing in KDE. And,
really? Yeah. Yeah, I missed the beginning of your stream. I actually just got home, so.
Yeah. Well, are you running NVIDIA?
Yeah, NVIDIA.
Yeah. So in the NVIDIA settings, if you uncheck the allow flipping, in the OpenGL settings, it'll stop the screen tearing.
Okay. Well, I ended up solving the problem a different way. So.
I found the place.
Yeah. I was gonna say you went Ryan's route, huh?
Just get rid of KDE and it solves all the problems. So.
Well, in Ryan's case, he went to GNOME for 2 days, and he said he wanted to shoot himself in the eye.
Well, that's because he calls it an iPad interface. So.
Because it is.
Well, no, it's not.
I'm using Unity on a tablet made by Microsoft, and this makes more sense than GNOME.
Come on, GNOME ain't that bad, dude.
Well, Listen to the i3 Prodigy.
I run Unity on a laptop, and I like Unity. I don't understand why Unity gets all the hate. Actually, it makes sense on a small screen.
Yeah, well, I never liked Unity, and then but I never really gave it a chance. Yeah. And that's what I keep telling Ryan with GNOME. I finally did give it a chance and forced myself to use it, and then, you know, it was just right there, and it was like, man, this isn't bad. So. And I got to like it.
Yeah.
And then they killed it.
I think that's the Unity desktop was, for me, when it first came out, the only thing that drove me away was it just took a little bit of fun out of using Linux, because they didn't have all the you couldn't make it look the way you wanted it to. So it took that sort of fun away from Linux, and I thought that the workflow was good. Loved it, no problem. But I just didn't like the fact that I couldn't make it look the way I wanted to look.
It's so funny, though, the hive mind that happens with Linux, because when I first started using Linux, I started with Ubuntu Unity. Everybody was like, "Oh, in my channel, that's for beginners. You got to get off that crap. You got to get off that crap." And then Unity goes away. Now everybody's like, "Man, Unity. Oh, where did it go? You know, we missed it." And now everybody hates Mint. And it's the same thing. It's like everybody's like, "Oh, Mint's terrible. It sucks." But if something happens with Mint, it'll be the same way. It's just like there's always that distro that people kind of go to, that the hive mind's like, we don't like this one just because something happened in the past.
Right? Yeah. There's also the ones that all the cool kids run for a little while.
Right.
Yeah. When I first started, everybody was moving to Arch. Arch was where it was at. Now, all of a sudden, it seems Solus. That's the one everybody's on right now. In a couple of years, it'll be something different.
Yeah, what the cool kids run.
Yeah. Solus is the new hotness.
And I won't argue with you, DistroTube, because you look like you could appear in Hitman. the video game. So I'll just keep my mouth shut and nod my head when you say something.
I haven't paid for a haircut since 2003.
Yeah, I hear you.
Joe, what's going on, man?
Not much. I wanted to kind of jump in a little bit on the conversation you guys are. I wasn't feeling too great. That's why I didn't come in earlier. And I thought, well, I'll start feeling a little better. And you guys got on a subject that,
we got you all worked up, didn't we?
No, not worked up. I was thinking about it when you guys were all kind of shooting the ideas out about the tracking, because if the first thought I had, and I know Carmine had taken a little poll earlier with Tom about cool or uncool, whether you think this tracking is a good idea. And at first I said uncool. Well, here's the thing. I think there's better ways of doing it. I agree with Rockwell. I don't like the automatic. You're in, and then you got to opt out of something. I don't like that because that's the way the world's going. I think because of the way Linux is, my thoughts were on this is, like you said, with the install process, there should be potentially, there's a bunch of ways you can look at it, but how about having, we'd like to do a one-time scan to get an idea of your hardware, and then if you update in the future, you'll have the option to scan it at your own leisure. Kind of a thing where you just click on whatever, have it built in there where you can just go to, like any other program, just go in and do a scan and send it to them if you want to give them the information. Because I do think it's, in one breath, it's a good idea that if it's going to help them better the hardware so Linux can grow better, I'm all for that. But my concern is like anything else, is once the rabbit gets out of the cage, are you going to be able to get it back again? Because that always seems to be the start of it, and I just hate to see it go down the wrong path here. I do think the Linux community as a whole would be up in arms and combat it if it did start going that way. But the worry is if it gets too far gone, can you reverse it?
Well, here's the thing, Joe. Everybody has a different level of what information they're okay giving away.
Right.
So what information I'm okay giving away, somebody else may not be. So the people that are okay with it right now are at a certain level of they're okay giving this information away. But when the next step comes, you're going to have more people saying, okay, well, I'm not willing to give that information away. But at that time, you're still going to have people say it's no big deal. It's just a little bit of information. It's just a slippery slope that once you start collecting data as a opt-in by default, it's a slippery slope to stop doing that. Because it's so easy then. Now that they have people conditioned to allow it, or at least allow some, it's easier to get more people conditioned to allow just a little bit more and just a little bit more.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's the thing with me. I go so far with stuff, and then I get quite honestly, I'd like to think it's speaking for the rest of you guys too, is a lot of us wound up on Linux for the very reason that that's all happening with Windows. I mean, that's the thing that put me over the edge when Windows 10 started with the data mining and all the privacy stuff and all the marketing. I mean, it's basically a big marketing platform. You got to deal with all the pop-ups. And even if you go into the registry and you shut everything off, the next big update puts it all right back again. So you've wasted a bunch of time. That's why I say, if, like you had mentioned, during the install process, you got to pick your keyboard and your mouse and all the other stuff. Just if it is where you will say it's truly a one-time scan just to get, an idea of your hardware so we can hopefully better improve it or whatever, are you willing to do that? If you don't feel comfortable with it, you don't do it. If you do it and you say, and then have a little message underneath, say, if you'd like to do it in the future again, if you make any hardware changes just to update it, you can update it, or maybe have it where there's a link to go to their website and say, hey, if you want to let us scan your hardware just to see what you're using to kind of help improve, drivers or whatever. If they gave you a decent explanation, I think people would feel better about that, but then that's where it stops. And you're right. That's, to me, if you have the option to turn it on and turn it off at will, I'm a little more comfortable with that. But the other side of the coin is do you really know if it's ever truly turned off? Just like app port. App port, to me, I never took it as that big of a deal because I looked at it as, okay, they got to know if there's a crash or a bug or something like that. It's a way of kind of getting information. But at the same token, are they collecting more than what it appears? I don't know. You assume they're not.
Well, let's hope they're not.
Yeah.
And EULAs change all the time. All that.
the way I look at it, the Australian government, as far as I'm concerned, know everything about me. They even send a census to force information from you anyway, and they know everything about you. Then we go on the internet. I would rather have ads pointed at me of things that I've looked at rather than ridiculous ads that I don't want to know anything about. But that's the reality of it all. Like Toss says, once you're on the internet, it's open slather. And I mean, I see people spending their money on VPNs because they don't want to be tracked and all that. These third parties are giving out the information anyway. If they're forced to, they will do. I mean, it's internet. Don't use the internet if you don't want people to know anything about you. And uploading information about your computer, to me, totally harmless as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know, looking at it.
But going on the internet, Colin, is one thing. Reaching into your computer for all your personal files and everything else, like where Microsoft's crossed the line, that basically if they see something they think isn't quite right, they can turn it over to the authorities on their assumptions. Since when did they become the police? Or they could shut your system down. Or I mean, the level of where that's gone is ridiculous. That's the problem I have. I mean, where do they stop? Yes, you go on the internet, if you go to sign up for something, you're giving them information that will. The reality of it is that's how a lot of it worked to capture information, was in order to get your information, they put basically something in front of your nose to say, do you really want to have this product or whatever it is? And yeah, we give it away freely because we want the product. But that shouldn't be a reverse scenario where they could reach into your computer and go in after all your personal files and photos.
I don't agree with files. I mean, all files are personal. That's fair enough. But computer information, I don't have a problem with. That's just computer information. As long as it's computer information, how do we know? We really don't know, do we? At the end of the day.
And Ubuntu is going to make all this information public. I mean, this is not like what Microsoft does on Windows. You have no idea what Microsoft is doing with your information.
Right.
All of this is going to be public. So
yeah, I was going to say, what telemetry is Microsoft? They basically say everything. Oh, hey, Windows 10 has a built-in keylogger. Awesome.
Well, I mean, what do you think?
And it's the same thing with your phones. We've talked about that before too. You can have a conversation, even the conversation we're having here right now, even if the phone shut off, 10 minutes later, you could go all of a sudden to log in. You go on Facebook, all of a sudden there's ads popping up based on your conversation you just had. And my wife found it out one day when she was talking about a music box for my granddaughter. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, pops up these ads for music boxes. Yeah. And she wasn't on her phone. It was just laying there.
I mean, if we were really concerned with privacy, we wouldn't use any of Google's services. We wouldn't be on YouTube right now if we were truly concerned.
No, you wouldn't be online. You wouldn't be using a smartphone. You'd be back to the telephone line on the wall.
Yeah.
So
telephone in the old red phone box. The old red phone box.
I mean, think about cars too. Even your cars nowadays, you can't get in your car and they don't know where you're going.
Right. I trust Canonical, getting information about my computer far more than what Google is getting on my Android phone. So
yeah, this is true.
I do agree with everything.
No, they know nothing about my car. It's 95.
Yeah.
They know nothing about my car, but they do follow me on my phone.
Tell us what
the only other concern, I just want to say this too, and we can get off it if you want, but one thing that worries me where it's Ubuntu is because of their connection with Microsoft. I think that's the other thing that sends up a little bit of a flag to me, because all of a sudden now they're deciding to collect the stuff after they got in bed with Microsoft with, the bash and all that they put in the Windows 10. That's the only thing that makes me a little bit wondrous about this.
It's a good point, Joe. That's a good point you raised.
So their timing's a little suspect. Let's put it that way.
What about the stuff that Red Hat does with Microsoft, the stuff that SUSE does with Microsoft? They all have some type of connection to Microsoft in some way, shape, or form. So if you're gonna call a Canonical out on it, you have to call the other three out that are doing it too.
And they're all doing it for the same reason. They're all collecting information so they can sell their company, so they have more information to eventually, so they actually have hard facts. That's why Canonical is doing this. They may want to sell to somebody one day. They need information.
I was going to say, Shuttleworth has said he wants to do IPO or sell it to somebody.
Once you get on that sharing highway, Okay, even if it's just to make your system better and to eliminate bugs. Once you get on that highway, where's the stop sign? Where's the off ramp? Who's going to say you've gone as far as you can go? What stops here? Who's going to police that? You know, we're on the outside trying to look in. We're not part of that exclusive club. So how do you know? And that's the problem. I mean, you know, I do not want the Russian KGB looking at my files, okay? But once again, once you get on that highway and we can say, Joe, you make a point. If it's just to make the system better, fine. But what Microsoft should have done is to have one master on-off switch. Yes, I'll share today, no tomorrow, and I'm done. Shut everything off. But it doesn't work that way.
They won't make any money there. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Again, we're speculating.
Yeah.
For Ubuntu to have that feature, my first thought was, and I caught this Wednesday night. I have like a little news feed on top doing my live show. So I'm talking, I saw him like, and my first thought was Ubuntu, the next Windows 10 was my first thought. Maybe that's unfair, but to have that feature turned on by default, no, how about if you leave it off by default?
Yeah.
Be transparent about it, not a problem. You have it off by default and then have it listed, we have this because, that if you want to do the master switch on, master switch off. But if it's turned on by default, now we're going to the whole different universe. And a lot of the reasons why people jump Windows 10 is because of the issue that we're talking. Personally, I don't care. I mean, I'll just turn it off. Actually, I don't like gnomes. I won't use Ubuntu anyway. So it's not a big freaking problem for me. But once
I would assume if this is really popular, it'll distribute out to others.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not collecting personal information. So let's be clear. It's very different than what Google or Microsoft or nobody cared that Microsoft collected the hardware you installed back in when they started doing it, in Windows 3.11. So nobody cared. It was the point where Windows 10 specifically came around, although they started doing it in 8, where they started collecting IP address information, user information, and all of this stuff. Now, it's a slippery slope. They are saying that they are going to be looking at the Ubuntu flavor that you're running, the version that you're running, and your hardware profile. They're not storing anything IP related or grabbing any of that information. Additionally, there's a check mark when you're installing it that you can uncheck, and it will be interesting to see, to your point, Toss, how apparent that is, or is that something they've hidden? Because that would be, they've hidden in terms and services or on a bunch of other screens. Then number 2 is you can also turn it off again once you're inside of Ubuntu. So you can go and turn it off there so it no longer, continues to update data on your hardware. So again, I think there's more good that can come out of this data with them working with hardware manufacturers than bad, but there are issues in the past with Ubuntu with their kind of leaky Unity search Amazon stuff that makes it people probably a little more less.
Well, what if an accidental hacker or somebody at Canonical makes a mistake and accidentally leaks? My philosophy is never underestimate the power of stupidity. And that's been proven over and over again in human history, not just, technology. So I get where they're coming from. And there's a fair argument on both sides.
Sure.
The judgment here is, where is the fair balance?
But think about the Amazon, app that was turned on by default in Unity until there was enough squawk, and then they set it to where it was off by default. No big deal.
When I use Unity, that was the first thing I did. Shut it off. Problem solved.
But not everybody. If you get somebody brand new coming to Linux, they may not know any better.
Well, I guess that's why my channel still exists. I don't know.
There you
to
go.
tell them, yo, wake up, forget about it. No, but once you start, I'd rather caution on the side of privacy. But I've just seen it in my lifetime that given the opportunity for people to do uncool, stupid things, they're in 100%. I'm not saying you guys are, but people, humanity in general, it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, like Ryan said, Windows started with just hardware collection, and
Yeah.
it slowly went to higher and higher and higher, and that's the problem. That's the thing that I see where, there's no big deal with what they're getting right now, but nothing's going to stop them from changing that later.
But think about something when you was saying that, and you're right. I don't think it getting to where they are now is justified. But also think about the argument between which platform is better for gaming and all that other stuff. Well, is it because they early on were collecting that information? Or is it just that there's enough money to be made through the platform that made the hardware developers come up with the drivers for that particular platform? So
Here's how you solve it. Thou shalt not lie. If you're a Windows developer or Linux, if you lie, automatic 1 year using Arch with no help. No, just kidding.
Hannah Montana Linux. There you go.
Hannah Montana.
You got to put them on Linux from scratch.
Yeah,
scratch.
Arch is not that bad. Gentoo would be better.
Yeah.
Well,
Got to get the relationships with the hardware manufacturers before I think Linux is going to truly be the year of the Linux, as everybody talks about. The stuff that you guys and we can go in there and fix, or we joke about and talk about the little annoyances with drivers and screen tearing and that type of thing. Other people are going to, or just they're not willing to do it. And for a lot of reasons, they're right that they shouldn't really have to mess with that. In order for that stuff to be fixed, you have to have a relationship with the hardware manufacturers. You want a relationship with the hardware manufacturers, you have to show them numbers. To get those numbers, you have to collect that data. The problem is probably the person who's doing it, and Toss makes a very good point. When somebody can do something stupid, they probably will, so then they could leave a hole in there, and now more is exposed than just your hardware. It is slippery. But ultimately, some of the stuff we need fixed, we really need to get this data to understand what people are running, because, like I said, the old adage is Linux is for old computers.
They just need to explain it better.
That specific reason. I mean, they said they're looking to just collect the hardware and the distro information, but did they say it's for to really point out and say? I didn't see that in the article. I should go back.
They're not out there saying that, but that would be the only logical.
That's an assumption. I mean, that's I mean, if that's really why they're doing it, that would be great. But they need to be saying it, not us assuming it. You know what I mean?
I think they don't learn. They don't learn from the past, because what they did with the Unity scopes and like the Amazon thing that you're talking about, Ryan, they just did it, and then people squawked, and then they took it out. Don't they learn from that? Why didn't they just make this an opt-in one, and learn from the past? Then they might say people will trust them, and a lot more people might jump on board because of it. But
well, to be fair, they said on that they are looking for people's feedback on this. So if there's enough, but I know some people are saying there's a lot of people mad about it, but honestly, every forum I've read, most of the people are not upset about it. They're just kind of I think they kind of see where it could go. But I agree with you. There's really no reason. I would check it every time, because being in the tech industry, I'd know what you need to get a manufacturer to be interested in your product. And to me, it's just, or they could be using it for what they're saying they're using it for, just on the onset, is to make your experience better, which we all hear, and it makes our eyes roll. But frankly, when you have an NVIDIA 1080 and you've got screen tearing and all this stuff, if they learn that 70% of their users have an NVIDIA card, they're probably going to focus a little more on that than they have in the past. So there's just a lot that can come of it. But I mean, I can't argue against your other points, especially tosses about when somebody will do something stupid, they will.
But they also will do it, Ryan, if there's money to be made.
Yeah, otherwise, that's true.
They may not care.
Follow the money trail.
Right. I'd do anything that it takes to help make this better and get the hardware support and everything else, if that's truly what it was for. But
and I don't want to say that my privacy is for sale, but if they promise me better video drivers, better Wi-Fi drivers, if I gave them a little information, I'd give them all the information they want.
Sold.
Well, that's why I said before, everybody has a different level of being comfortable with giving away their info. And Rose said the same thing in chat. Where is the? Go ahead.
Google and Facebook already know more about me than Canonical ever will.
That's right.
You ain't lying.
Very true there.
Yeah.
Very true there.
I'm on Facebook, and they know just about everything about
Were you
me.
going to say, where is the line, Rocco?
Yeah, like where is the line of comfortability with each person? You know, like I'm comfortable giving away this amount, somebody else is not, and it just keeps going down the line. So
yeah,
that's where you draw the line. I like to draw the line in Mexico, man. You see what I'm saying? But no,
build a wall.
Shane wants to know. Go ahead, Shane.
I'm looking at building a Ryzen system tomorrow.
nice.
So I'm wondering about Asus or Gigabyte motherboard for it.
I do not know.
I think either one of those are good choices. What you need to look at is, number one, what the hardware offers. Definitely got to make sure compatibility. That's the key with all that stuff too. The other thing is reviews are only as good as the people that put them in there. But I do put some weight in reviews too. And when I say reviews, don't just, if you're buying from Newegg, don't just look at Newegg's. Look at what they have to say on Amazon or maybe some other sites. Because to me, some you kind of read in and tell if somebody is.
Amazon is full of fake reviews.
Like MSI boards. I've got MSI boards in both of these machines here, and I have not had, knock on wood, not one lick of trouble with it. But Asus and Gigabyte both have good reputation.
My Ryzen build has Gigabyte in it.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Ryzen 7 1700X.
Okay, I'm jealous.
So. Well,
I don't
that
have
or a
Ryzen.
Threadripper, and the Darktable doesn't perform any faster on Threadripper than it does on a Ryzen 7.
But just saying you have a Threadripper is so cool. You can't put that down. You can be able to tell everybody, what CPU do you run? I run a Threadripper.
Red
Conversation
Ripper.
over.
Sounds like something at Taco Bell,
else.
man. Red Ripper.
It doesn't perform
Render
better
everything.
with the Darktable?
It kind of does, but even a Ryzen 7 1700X can apply certain modules about a half a second slower than
It's
the
negligible,
16
yeah.
core.
So it's not worth the extra money.
No.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Just for
so
bragging
I don't
rights.
have AMD, but I've always had Asus motherboards, and they're awesome. So,
Yeah.
not saying that Gigabyte's bad. I just have always went with Asus.
Yeah, I'm currently on a Gigabyte board, but it's on a AMD FX rig. So
Yeah, I'm using the same Gigabyte on FX, so yeah, it's giving me no problems.
Yeah, that's why I say to me it's more about compatibility and the features of the board more than anything else right now, because either one of those are, from a level of quality, I think they're both up there. And the other thing too I know is they both of them have really good support. I have never had a reason to call support for MSI. I've heard people say, oh, they're terrible. I haven't had any issues with them, so I wouldn't know. And I've put quite a few of them in and stuff I've built, but so I just, that's all I could offer for advice, is just make sure you just, do your homework on them and make sure they're compatible, and that, they have exactly what it is you're going to need for features. Because again, you have to also look at maybe expandability too, because there are differences in some of the boards that way.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Darktable's just beginning to torture this computer. So
anyway.
Tanji in the chat said Asus support is crap, and I have to second that. It is horrible. So that is something to factor in. Although I've had their motherboards and they're fine, I haven't had any issues with them, but they do have terrible support.
Yeah.
And see, they used to be one of the better ones for it. That's why I always knew them to have decent support, but something might be changing in there too. I know there's been, when I've been looking at and specking out a couple other machines, and I've looked at them all, and you see some certain complaints when you see, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I don't remember if it was Asus or Gigabyte, but one of them it might have been Asus, actually, now that you mentioned that, because I'm thinking about it as I'm talking, that they had sound card issues. And it wasn't just one or two people or three people. When you see a dozen or a dozen more in there where everybody's got a similar type issue that they're complaining about, that tells you something about that board. So, but I don't remember for sure which one. But
yeah,
if you're talking a one-time experience with it, I wouldn't judge it on that. You know, it could be the person you dealt with or whatever. But if you're having bad experiences multiple times, then I'd say yeah. So I mean, it's hard to judge because you have one bad experience with something. You know,
I had a good. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to say straight off, all you guys are like celebrities to me.
Oh,
Hey, welcome, Whit. How are you, man?
yeah, man. Well,
Hello, Rocco. All I've learned of Linux is from you guys. And I know that sounds, maybe that's good or bad. I don't know.
that's really scary.
I thought it would be,
Especially if you're learning from Brian.
I thought it might be. I've never joined a live chat or anything before, so this is my first time. And I take
Welcome.
Saturday night and Destination Linux episodes, and I do house chores while listening to them, and they're wonderful. And
Thank
so
you
you
so
guys
much.
kind of are like celebrities because I've heard you for over a year now. I started with Rob Collins and Rocco,
Nice.
Yep.
and now I'm here. And about that Gigabyte Asus discussion. Gigabyte has this weird thing on some of their boards for humidity protection, and it was golden when I had a machine in the basement. It saved it. So
Wow.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
There you go.
Gigabyte does
That's
have that
legit.
humidity protection. Yeah.
That's an awesome feature.
So I guess they're popular in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I live in Louisiana, so it comes in handy. So.
Yeah, I'll
There
say.
you go.
Humidity OS. There we go.
And there's Toss. I don't know how many times it's gone through my head. I'm going to kill your American Linux.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's
I will
great.
kill American Linux.
Oh, there you go.
Kill you. Russian comrade.
Schwarzenegger, he sounds like he's having a gun.
Good to be here. Good to be here with Rocco. Yeah, get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. Yeah, so we should have.
This
So
is
we
great.
should have.
Do it now.
We should have us with Arnold, a Russian spy, Tony Montana talking about Linux. Okay, man. Okay, I want to use Line OS. Okay.
Somebody's got to do Stallone.
You're gonna have-
Mark One, your impression of Schwarzenegger was amazing there, man.
Yes, it was.
Dude, I used to one of the shifts I used to work at. We would do Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions for like 4 hours every night. So when you're in a store with like 6 other guys and you have nothing else to do besides work, you entertain yourselves.
It's like a male bonding thing, you know.
It is.
I like the Tony Montana one, I think. Say hello to my little distro.
Say hello to my little distro, you little cockroach.
You don't try, little. We're gonna make you an offer you can't refuse, and you're gonna find out the hard way.
Listen to me, Rocco. You
Your
disrespect
windows
the
is gonna sleep
family.
with the fishes.
You disrespect the family.
Look what you've
with
started with.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a self-respecting suburbanite wasp. A minority here.
I hope this doesn't trigger any algorithms in YouTube.
Yeah, I'll say.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you just got demonetized, Rocco.
It's all your fault. Too late.
I'll call
Too late.
Guido in Sicily. You're gonna be okay. Don't worry.
You're gonna get monetized again.
Love it.
I was gonna say Ryan, he probably already got demonetized anyway, so
Yeah.
he went
The
live.
second you put Linux in a tag, your video gets demonetized.
Usually
got-
my
God,
videos
yeah.
usually my videos get tagged immediately as soon as I upload them. So
Yeah.
It's
Man,
weird,
I-
man. It's
does anyone
hit and
know-
miss. It's hit and miss. I have like 3 or 4 demonetized, and then the next 4 or 5 is good. So obviously, I'm saying something. There's a key word
Yeah.
or something.
I know the key word too. It's Linux because every
Yeah,
single
that's
video
it.
of mine,
That's right.
every single one
I
gets
was gonna say,
demonetized.
But it's random for me.
I don't know what else it is because
Because I've tried
Well,
to
it's like-
figure it out, and I have Linux in almost every title, so I'm thinking that's it. And I
Well,
tag
it's-
Linux too. So.
I was gonna say it's weird because like every one of my Linux videos that I've done, I tag Linux, I dispute the stupid demonetization for it. The Surface Pro 2 review that I do is still demonetized.
They're like,
mention
oh,
a-
no, you're not allowed to bring it back.
Doesn't mention Linux at all. It's not in the tags. It's not in the description. It's not. I'm like, the only
Surface
time
Pro.
I mention Linux in that entire video is like the 30 seconds I talk about why it's not on there.
What I don't get is after they demonetize you, you request a review, and they always monetize it again. You get put back on being monetized
the next day or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Or even
After a
sooner.
couple hundred views.
But after a couple of hundred videos that have been demonetized and they see all of them are good, you would think they would just quit demonetizing every single video, but they don't.
Well,
They
it's like sending in for rebate. They see who's going to do it and who isn't.
Could be. I mean, I don't know.
I think that is it. I think they're trying to save money.
See, with me, they should just say, "Oh, it's just him doing Tony Montana again. He's good, man. He's good.
Yeah.
Toss is good, okay." But no.
Yeah, but you're right though. I mean, like with the amount of videos that they do, every little bit is saving them a ton of money.
Yeah, and I'm surprised somebody hasn't thought about suing them yet. Some of the bigger channels, but they probably don't do the real big guys like that because they know they would have some issues.
Well, there's probably some clause in the user agreement that we don't read. They sign up saying you can't sue them anyway. So
yeah. You probably agreed to that when you got your Android phone.
Yep, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, who reads the user agreements anyway?
Right.
I mean, they're like fine print, and then it's like I remember one time I was living in Orlando. This is before the explosion of the internet and smartphones. I would wake up to the morning jazz station, Top 40 Jazz, and there was a commercial for a lease a Volvo for some ridiculous for only $4.99 down, and then here comes the small print. Normally it would say subject to the clauses of you. They did 2 minutes of the fine print in like 3 seconds. Subject to done. What the bleep did he say, man?
Yep.
God, but that's the game. Well, he stated the clause. Yeah, speaking in Russian or whatever, But
if you ever want to hear what they're saying, and because my son-in-law is a radio personality, and then when they do those, he says what they do is they speed it up by however.
Yeah. Right. And legally, they
slow it down and see if that works.
Right. And from their point, legally, they told you, even though what they said sounded chipmunks at warp speed, but
yeah, but if I remember correctly, when on Windows there was a program, and it's been quite a few years, there was a program that read the user agreements, like you ran it on your computer, and any user agreement that came up, it read it for anything that it flagged as being controversial. I can't remember what that program's called.
So that would be in the entire UL.
Red flags.
Yeah.
It's called The Lawyer. Here, read this. Yeah.
It sounds like something Richard Stallman would write.
Yeah, no, it was an actual program, and but I can't remember what it was called. It was years ago, so
it was called Forget About It. That's what it was called.
Yeah. Wait, did you have a question?
No, I'm just enjoying this. Except now that I'm actually on this, I will not be able to replay it around the house because I can't stand hearing my own voice.
Oh, you can still replay it, dude.
You get used to it.
Yeah, that's right. So, what's on the agenda this week for you guys?
I'm gonna play more with Peppermint OS at warp speed. I think flies. Ooh.
Too bad Zeb's not here to hear that.
He knows. He was on one of my live shows. And he said, "See, I told you, Toss," or something like that. I'm like, okay, here's his head exploding.
So, Toss, you're taking it for a respin?
Yeah, I want to take it around the block in Mexico twice. Okay, no, but
or you remixing it?
Remixing it.
Or I was gonna say.
Well, I tested Makulu Linux off a USB stick, and that was pretty good. So I want to full install this. I installed it in my test laptop. Couldn't get the internet to work. Wireless to where the heck with this. I don't want to mess with it. So I deleted it. Installed Pep OS. I don't know. But see, with other Linux distros, this is the first time I've had issue with wireless in that Toshiba lap. It's a satellite. I think it had Windows 7 or Vista. I can't remember. A long time ago. But Linux Mint Ubuntu, not a problem. Pep OS, I have it now. Fired right up. But out of all the distros, Peppermint OS is probably the fastest so far. Yeah, I'm impressed. So I might mess with that a little bit more this week. See, when I distro hop, I never distro hop on my main machine like Rocco. You know.
Look, dude, look.
Rocco's getting all the
Wow.
flack
I'll
tonight.
tell you what.
Are you still on mate? Or have
I
you
didn't
switched?
even distro hop.
No,
I am
no,
on another
he's-
hard
he's
drive.
on-
He said
he's
My
on
mate.
favorite episode ever.
You can't consider it a distro hop if I didn't overwrite what I was running before.
Yes,
Right.
Rocco.
You
Yes,
can't.
No,
You
yes,
can.
you can. Yeah.
What does DOS
Rocco's
Google
a
say
member
about
of
it?
the-
You know what you should
Right.
do, Rocco?
Does
You need to
Google.
write the terms and conditions for Ubuntu.
Wait, let's
data
get in.
capturing, because
let's
your
get
ability
in-
to speak through that, man.
No,
is
okay,
amazing.
Rocco. Here's a flat question: what distro are you running for the last week as your daily driver?
Yes.
Okay, so Derek,
It's okay.
I need an unbiased opinion, Derek.
Think of a politician's answer.
I've been known for
Avoid the question.
switching distros every once in a while, and
Once in a while.
I was running Ubuntu Mate, and it's on my main drive, and now I installed KDE Neon on a separate drive. Now, is that considered a distro hop? Even though
Yes, because you
kind of
incorporate it
running?
into your daily workflow as your primary
Right.
machine.
I was asking Derek. He's the unbiased opinion.
I wouldn't consider that a distro hop. No.
See that?
Oh,
See, my man.
Come on, Derek.
Partial
What?
hop.
We were seeing eye to eye with the arch merge thing and stuff, and then you go and do that.
Now, if you've got extra hard drives and extra partitions, that's not really a complete nuke and pave. That is a distro hop. Yeah.
See.
Well, technically,
Yeah,
he
I'm
did
convinced.
Well, technically, he did nuke and pave. It was on
But-
that drive.
But I did. But I have been running KDE Neon, so there you go.
He
But I do
has,
agree. I do agree. Never distro hop on your main production machine. You're just asking for disaster because it's going to crap out on you at the worst time.
I've done that once or twice.
We've done that like an hour before we're supposed to record Destination
Oh my
Linux.
gosh, that is like a disaster.
Exactly.
And you're not supposed to do that, is that right?
Well, it makes for an interesting podcast, let me tell you.
I'm doing all right.
You can call the podcast Destination Disaster.
I'm doing all right so far. Actually, Rocco, you've now joined the HHA, I think.
I've joined the what?
The HHA. That's the hard drive hoppers anonymous.
Where you and Zeb are the lead guys, or what?
You and Zeb.
Yeah.
Zeb's not even here to defend himself.
No, he's not, but-
Don't be pulling him into your antics.
But
No,
you know,
what-
this week he gets a few shots in on me, so he
What does
deserves
it
that.
make Colin? He's got like 12 distros on 16 drives. You know, it's like,
No, I've got
Joe, that's chicken.
3
See.
or 4 laptops. And
What we
and
needed
a
was a
main
true
system.
unbiased opinion here from someone who was not on the show, and that would be English Bob. He would set us
Oh
straight.
yeah, Steve
Oh,
would definitely
yes.
Would set us
straight.
straight. You know, and I thought I had an attitude. Forget about it. He,
Well, I just installed actually Kubuntu 1804 daily build because I wanted to compare that to KDE Neon. So, and actually in Kubuntu 1804, they have a right click and create new documents in the right click menu, which I don't know how to do in KDE Neon. They've got the create new Excel spreadsheet and blah, blah, blah. I can't
Couldn't
do that in
you-
Neon.
couldn't you technically make any distro look like any distro by customizing it?
no, yeah,
Almost.
most of them.
You can, but
Sure.
You mean like
most.
Windows? The one that tries to be Windows, but it's really Linux?
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, Scraps, check your Telegram. But yeah,
I see
you can make any distro look like anything, but
Yeah.
it doesn't always work
True.
exactly the same either.
That is true.
So
Sometimes
Well,
I'll
think about
install
something
different
here.
environments, but no, it's
If there wasn't distro hopping, there wouldn't be shows like this.
That's true.
Mm.
No, because
Yeah,
it would be
something to talk
desktop
about.
environment hopping instead.
Yeah, yeah,
well, I web browser hop, so that's safer. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, less nuke and pave.
Well, if you pick the right window managers, it really doesn't matter what distro you're on. I mean, if you're running Xmonad, it doesn't matter if you're running Ubuntu, Gentoo, Arch. Xmonad is Xmonad. So.
That's exactly right. I agree.
Same thing with Awesome, or in
Right,
Ryan's
right.
case, i3.
Let's
Until you
talk
actually,
about i3 for a second. Look at that awesome shirt.
Well, the two desktops I'm in favour of at the moment is KDE Neon and the Budgie desktop. I think the Budgie desktop has got really good tweaking ability, just like KDE, but KDE has a lot more options. Budgie is a little bit more simplified. But
I like that Budgie doesn't have as many options as KDE. Actually, KDE is complicated because of all those options.
I was thinking Scrapshaw has his guitar. Maybe he can write a Distro Hopper's theme. Just a thought, you know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to have the bass in there until Rocco sent something to me.
No, that's fine, man.
No, I said you had it playing last week, and it was great. I didn't mind it at all. It was
it's
just
that background. It's kind of relaxing.
Yeah, it was just a little loud last week when we ended because we couldn't. People couldn't hear people talking.
It's a weird mix. It's hard to get that kind of mix.
So
good now.
Continue on.
Yeah, keep playing.
Yeah.
I'm not plugged in. I unplugged it.
What do you play, Derek?
The trombone, actually.
Nice. Bring it on.
Yeah. Get it out. Come on. Play along
I actually have 2 music degrees.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Ryan's like a Mensa because he uses i3. Can you handle that, Derek?
Yeah, Derek, can you?
I've played around in i3 just a little bit, but Xmonad, I lived in that for a long time. I liked it. It handles multi-monitors really well. Awesome. I've played around in too. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Qtile. It's a tiling window manager that's written entirely in Python. It's really nice. I like it. So I've lived in all 3 of them at some point, but I haven't really lived in i3 ever. So, but I'm going to check it out soon.
I think that may qualify you for a Mensa.
Yeah, you're almost there. You're like at phase 2, phase 3 for Mensa qualification. That's when you run it for more than a month, you know.
Yeah.
I think the real test is to have him have a discussion with Michael about pronunciation, because I watched his video yesterday about pronunciation. And I actually thought it was very good, by the way. So
yeah, I started something with that because then I had a million comments. Well, you didn't pronounce this right in your video about the pronunciation. You know,
oh, dude!
You
know how many times we get that? You know how many times we get that in Destination Linux? We have been flamed so much in Destination Linux for how we've pronounced things. And people are serious about it too. I mean, they are.
I would get that in the past about you pronounce it, and I've wanted so much to say I'm a freaking English major. Don't talk to me about pronunciation. Now there are times that I may have said it wrong. I would look it up, and then I wouldn't say it wrong again. But obviously,
how many of those people are in the trunk of your Cadillac?
I lost my log. I have it logged. I lost track at 47. I'm sorry, man.
Nah, they just got a pair. No, just got a pair of cement shoes.
I was gonna say, Toss, how many trips to the river did?
I actually got banned from the river from the mayor. He said, "Dude, will you get out of here?"
There's too many cement blocks in the river.
Well, yeah, because now there's flooding from all the bodies.
But we all speak differently, don't we? I mean, even in America, you have different states. People talk in a slightly different way, and you know, Aussies have different slang sometimes, and whatever. I mean, why can't people just accept that that's the way people say something? Why do they have to jump on this bandwagon of
it's not the
hatred?
right enunciation.
Well,
like instead of GNOME or GNOME or genome, and it's like if I say something, I don't mean it to be disrespectful. I really don't, you know. And if I'm corrected, I'll stand corrected and move on. But if somebody says it wrong, it's so uncool to say, "Dude, you're so stupid. Where are you from? You're a newbie." I'm like, but then I got to bite my New York attitude. Calm down, Toss, relax.
Well, that's why
Rocco knows what I'm talking. Just relax.
I said months ago we were talking about this, and I didn't mean it to sound harsh, but if you think about what I'm about to say, what it means is it depends on what part of the world you're in and how ignorant you appear to somebody else.
Well, it's different cultures.
Does that mean you are? It doesn't necessarily mean you are. It's just, you know, other people look at, you know, the ones that are the hardcore, oh, you're doing this, you know, they may pronounce it one way, and in this part of the world it's pronounced a different way. So who is the person that's right, wrong, and, you know, so.
Well,
Well,
they'll
we
always
don't-
go back to the person
Gotta go
who
like this,
created
right?
it and find some
Okay.
sound clip to say
That's-
this is the
that's
right
fine.
way that they
Yeah,
did
that's
it.
Right.
But
yeah.
It's down to civility. Be civil about it.
exactly.
Right.
That's it.
Comes down to, look, I have an attitude, I get it, but I do it in fun. I've gotten older, but at some point you got to be civil. If you think the person says it wrong, I think it's pronounced this versus this, instead of saying you stupid mushroom of a
Right.
person, that doesn't help the conversation.
I don't believe 13 years
Toss
ago.
civility on the internet.
Well, Derek pointed out in his
I think
video-
we do a good job here. You know, it exists in micro.
Well, that's because Rocco's here to kind of keep things calm. When people wrote us on Destination Linux about things, I write these long letters back to them, but I send it to Rocco first, and Rocco's like, "Okay, Ryan, well, let me know when you're available to talk, and we'll look through the."
we got this email, and this guy just ripped us a new one. I mean, swore in it and told us how terrible we were, and the only good thing about our show was the beginning music and the ending music. I mean, he went on and on and on.
Right.
And Ryan had wrote this whole email
Because he was talking about our grammar, and his whole email was grammatically incorrect. So I pointed out every
Oh my God.
every issue in his entire email, and Rocco's like, well, maybe we should just ignore it, you know? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. At the end of the day,
Once in a while,
delete.
I would have had fun. I would have said, okay, listen, Snapperhead, you pronounced this wrong. Would have been my reply, just to get it out of my system. But then I would feel sorry, laughing. You know, I should not have done that. You know.
Now I ignore the trolls. The trolls aren't the problem. I just ignore them. It's people legitimately. Every video I make about GNOME, somebody's going to make that comment that,
Yeah,
you know.
it's
I
known.
thought what was
Yeah.
good about your video, not only did you talk about the pronunciation, you put in parentheses to kind of show how.
Oh yeah, and people still commented that,
Where you
Yeah.
actually explained where it originated from, and that's the truth of the matter is that if you really want to find out how something's pronounced, go to where it came from. Go to the
Yeah.
developers. Go to the people who did it.
yeah. Don't
Well,
comment on a
that-
YouTube video. Go to Wikipedia.
I don't believe there's a Linux book of pronunciation anywhere, is there? To be honest, I mean nobody joins Linux and gets pointed towards the Linux book of pronunciation, do they? I mean,
I'm sorry, it's GNU Linux. I don't mean to be rude.
GNU/Linux.
Should write a book.
That's right. And it's not an operating system.
Tosses guide to
Oh, it's not
Linux
an
grammar.
operating system, guys. Linux is not an operating system.
No,
It's a
it's
kernel.
not.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Listen, you snapperheads. It's GNU.
Demonetized. You said Snapperhead.
Oh my God, we are done. Well, I don't know. You have so many people that care, and then you go to places, and first of all, we have so many ridiculous names in Linux. I mean, why? Why can't we just name things easy? But
Because that would
most
be
people,
easy.
most people don't care about how it's said. You'll go to some blogs and they'll say, you know, whichever pronunciation works for you is whatever you want to call it. That's fine. And you'll have other ones that want it said a certain way. So I don't know.
Well, I think one of the most popular apps, I think in Android, I think it's called Dead Beef Music Player. I think that's
Yeah,
the name.
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
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 Of all the names for a creator, Dead Beef. Wait, I have a better one. I have a new music player called Live Cockroach Music Player. How's that?
Yes, but Toss, at least you can pronounce dead beef.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
I also can't pronounce Live Cockroach. You
I
little
think
cockroach.
worse than the names of the distros, I think, are the names they
Yeah.
programs. Like even I've said this repeatedly too. Calculate. Who puts a G in front of it?
Calculator.
Just to be different. It's like I don't get that. So
And if we're being honest, GIMP is a pretty horrible name.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an abbreviation
There's
for
so many better names.
Yeah.
So many better names. Why would you name your program GIMP? I'm just saying.
Because
Why?
it's an acronym.
Because
Yeah,
if
it's an acronym. Yeah.
I always think of Pulp Fiction every time I say GIMP. You know.
Yep.
anybody would know not to name their program GIMP, it would be a geek. Really?
Oh, I was watching Michael during the week, and he was talking about that. There was, I think it was a music player or something. I mentioned I could not pronounce it. I think they've changed the name of it. I can't remember what what was that one?
Nimbulous clouds. And
That's cumulus or something like that.
yeah.
and they've changed the name, and I can't remember what the name was.
Yeah, they changed it.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what I mean. Everybody. It seems like everybody in the Linux world picks these names that are ridiculous, and then they get upset that you can't pronounce them. You know, off the bat.
Yeah.
It's only KDE and GNOME that's doing this, isn't it? Or GNOME. It's only those two that really do it, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I'm talking everything from apps and everywhere, stuff that, you know, has nothing to do with GNOME, like the music player. You know, that has really nothing to do with GNOME or KDE. It's just a music player that the guy made.
Well,
and
true.
It's like everybody in the Linux world wants to name their app something catchy.
I think it's Linux Lite that has Calculator, or one of those light distros that does. So I mean,
the first time I saw Calculator, I thought of, let's see, I ranked this girl 2 times 4 equals 8. Rating a girl. That's the first thing that popped into my head. But
yeah.
But you have all apps in KDE and GNOME. They're all like, KDE's got their K name and GNOME's got the G name, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's a competition between those two who can have the most names with G or K in front. I don't know.
Who can have this? I'm not gonna lie, some of the names are quite stupid, to be blunt.
All right, so we are coming to the end. So everybody gets a last word. Colin, last word.
Okay, since Michael's not here tonight, I have to say PC TLC, and yet loving the Blue Yeti microphone.
Nice. Matt?
tuxdigital.com/dark1.
Nice. Ryan?
Where'd you get that awesome shirt, Dark One?
That would be your Teesprings there, Ryan.
There we go, yeah. But my last word is Rocco is a shark. Be careful. He tells you he's new at something. He's probably an expert.
Scrap?
Somebody said it's just another G fork, and I can only help but think about the song Nothing But a G Thing. So
play it, Scrap.
Because I'm funking it up right now.
Sounds like Seinfeld.
But G.
I like that.
Shane?
Coming soon, Dark Table for Noobs.
Nice.
Yes.
There you go, Rocco.
Thank you, Shane.
You'll have to let us know how you make out with that build too, man.
Oh, yeah, I'll be doing it tomorrow.
Cool.
Derek, last word?
Thanks for having me. It was a fun way to spend a Saturday night.
Nice. Well, you're welcome back anytime, dude.
No,
Awesome
appreciate
to have
it.
you.
Joe?
All I can say is support what you believe in. Plain and simple, whether it's Linux or whatever. If you like Linux, you believe in Linux, just try to learn as much as you can. If you don't know the answers, find somebody who does.
Toss?
you know, I say genome. So heck with you, man. Okay.
Wit.
Thank you. Wonderful being with all you wonderful guys here tonight. I did miss Zeb a little bit because if there's anybody that I would like to sound like, it's Zeb. I love his accent.
Yeah.
But I guess,
Zeb.
yeah, he's wonderful. But I guess for a final word, although I'm partial to canines, become a Linux lion.
Wow. That's awesome.
I like it.
That's cool.
All right. So last words. Check out DistroTube's channel. We've got a great channel with great content.
Yeah.
Check it
he's
out.
awesome. He is awesome.
Thanks, guys.
And also check out Destination Linux, episode 58 coming Monday.
It's got a secret in it.
It's got some changes amongst the
You guys are gonna
Destination
be
Linux
shocked.
podcast.
Love that little teaser you put out.
I have a feeling I know what's going on there, but I'm not saying anything. But I just have a feeling.
So
All
the
right.
name's changing. Destination Dead Beef. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's Destination Google.
Destination
Of
is
course,
course,
miracle
Das.
in it.
So it's becoming Destination Das Google.
Rocco made the switch.
Destination I3.
We're going to start talking about Windows or something.
Destination Computer Show.
Destination I3. Oh, Rocco, can we, please?
No, we can't. All right. Everybody have a great night. And
See ya, everyone.
we'll see y'all next week.
Good night.
Hey, guys.
See you, everybody.
See ya.